Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. South Africans took the opportunity to snap up the shares of global diversified major GlencoreXstrata following its debut on the main board of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange this week. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Now, GlencoreXstrata is a mining and bulk commodity trading company. Is there a chance it could engage in oil and gas investments in South Africa?
Well, it's quite big in oil and gas investments in Africa, but at the moment it says its geological focus is around West Africa, and it's into Equatorial Guinea and Cameroon and Chad, and it's a keen investor in hydrocarbons, oil and gas in that area. What it's saying is it doesn't know enough about South Africa yet. But obviously, if something crops up, they will look at it, but they're not going out of their way at this point in time because of this huge focus in West Africa.
Do you think they would have any chance of doing the fracking thing in the Karoo?
Well, that's an option that's coming up. Shell is quite big there, and other companies have got there in advance, but we have a situation where the government is calling for a free carry now, and the free carry is 20%. Often, there is a range of free carries in the world. It's not a unique thing. A lot of the countries ask for free carry in the hydrocarbon space. But some seem to indicate that they were expecting 10% free carry in South Africa, not the 20%. The view of GlencoreXstrata is, look, just tell us what you want, government. We will then do our sums. If it still makes economic sense, we'll be happy to do it. If it doesn't make economic sense, obviously, we won't be happy to do it. But they're not against a free carry in principle. And it is sort of set in stone in a lot of places. And that will apply in the Karoo. The government have made this absolutely clear. Although they're getting some negative reaction from people who are already engaged offshore in drilling. So they've been engaged drilling and they've been exploring for oil and gas. Now they come into the government and saying, don't change the rules. We've already started investing here. And in that particular space, I don't know what the government's going to do, but definitely they've made it very, very clear with the Karoo and the shale gas. Nobody has actually produced any shale gas yet. So they're saying, look, we've got a clean sheet, and we're telling you now that we want 20% of a free carried interest. In other words, the government, the shareholders, the people of South Africa have an automatic 20% shareholding, and they get that shareholding free, gratis, and for nothing as a starting point. And possibly a company like GlencoreXstrata would set its geological eyes in that direction at some stage, but they're making it clear that they don't know the area yet.
And I also get the impression that they don't mind what percentage the government chooses as long as they don't change it.
They don't want change. Once they start investing, they're saying, please don't change, because then it really ruins it for us. It ruins it for our shareholders. All our sums go awry. So once you've made up your mind, if it's a very harsh stand you're making, well and good. We will do the calculations to see whether it's worth it or not. But once you've made that firm stand, it must be written in stone. Don't change.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
CEO Ivan Glassenberg believes that being a commodity trader and a miner is a comparative advantage over its mining peers. Why does he say that?
At the moment he's competing on the market in Johannesburg on the JSE with the likes of BHP Billiton and with a company like Anglo American. But what he's got as an advantage, a comparative advantage, is the fact that he's a trader. And he says this is a massive advantage because he's actually selling the bulk commodities of so many companies that he knows what the attitude of those companies are, whether they're now wanting to dispose of their asset, whether they're wanting to expand. He knows the market trends. So because he's a trader, he's got this massive insight, and he's also got a very good relationship with the company. So, the opportunities pop up for him in actually buying assets, mining assets. And he's saying this is a massive comparative advantage, and it's already given them such an insight into the industry, which is one of their successes, and they deal, across the world, and a frivolous question Mining Weekly Online put to him is, is it true that you've got more ships than the Royal Navy? And he said, it is true. We've got more ships than the Royal Navy, particularly if you take all activities into account, including the charter. So they are huge as a trader. I think because they weren't listed, the world didn't realize how big these people are in the trading situation. And because there was a huge demand surge at some stage, they wanted to get into mining, which is now giving them this very big advantage of being a trader and a miner. And in coal, in South Africa, they've been pretty big. And we know that Ivan Glazenberg, when I used to go into the Mpumalanga coal fields to do a story, people would often say to me, do you know Ivan Glazenberg? And, I'd never met him before, so I said to him, they were quite shocked that I didn't know you. He said, well, he was very active in the coal fields, and I know he played a very big role there also as a trader. So it's a remarkable history that they've got, and now with the merging of Xstrata, they've taken over all those coal assets in Mpumalanga, so they're very well placed to export from South Africa, and they are the biggest seaborne coal trader in the world. So that's just one of their commodities now.
What's the outlook for coal in South Africa, specifically for GlencoreXstrata?
Well, they're very bullish about coal because they're saying that the consumers of coal are still buying larger quantities of coal, the climate change notwithstanding. India and China still heavily involved in coal purchases, which is creating very big demand, for the likes of GlencoreXstrata.
Well, thank you very much, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insight into what's happening in the mining world.